So, good morning everyone. So, for today's lesson, I'm going to discuss to you about the thermal pollution. So, for our learning objectives, first, identify the causes of thermal pollution. Second, the learners would be able to identify the possible effects of thermal pollution to the marine animals and to humans. And last, the learners would be able to learn the solutions in order to control severe thermal pollution. So, ano ba ang thermal pollution? So, pag sinabi nating thermal pollution, it is defined as a sudden increase or decrease in temperature of a natural body of water, which may be ocean, lake, river, or pond by human influence. So, this normally occurs when a plant or facility takes in water from natural resource and puts it back with an altered temperature and produce negative effects to the organism in that ecosystem. So, basically, ang thermal pollution ay patungkol sa pagkasira ng kapaligiran, particularly ang mga anyo ng tubig na may kinalaman sa init that may cause harm to all living things, especially yung ating mga marine animals. So, here is the list of possible causes of thermal pollution. First is the production and manufacturing plants. Second is the soil erosion. Third is the deforestation. Four is the runoff from paved surfaces. 5 is natural causes. 6 is retention ponds. 7 is domestic sewage. So, mas bibigyang paliwanag itong pito na ito sa mga susunod na slide. And first causes, we have the production and manufacturing plants. So, water as a cooling agent and power. Manufacturing and industrial plant. So these plants draw water from nearby sources to keep machines cool and then release back from to the source with a higher temperature. When heated water returns to the river or ocean, the water temperature rises sharply. When oxygen levels are altered in the water, this can also degrade the quality and longevity of life in wildlife underwater. So, dito sa production manufacturing plants, so how factories and manufacturing plants contributes to thermal pollution? So, we all know that they are using a lot of machines in their production, and in order to maintain the machine's normal level of its temperature, they use water as a cooling agents for their machines. So, saan nila kinukuha yung tubig? So, as mentioned here, kinukuha nila yung mga tubig sa mga nearby water bodies like lakes and oceans from their sites, and then after that, they are returning that water to its original sources with higher temperature. So the tendency is that yung tubig na binabalik nila is masyado nang mainit. So that's how production of manufacturing of plants can contribute to normal pollution. Second is we have the soil erosion. So consistent soil erosion causes water bodies to rise, making them more exposed to sunlight. The high temperature can prove fatal for aquatic biomes as if it may give rise to anaerobic conditions. So nagiging dahilan din ang soil erosion sa pagkakaroon ng thermal pollution. Yung hindi maiwasan at tuloy-tuloy na pagguho ng lupa dahilan ng mga livestock grazing, agriculture, deforestation, and urbanization can literally leads to soil erosion. Thus, because of this, the water level of such bodies of water will increase, which may result that water may expose too much directly to the sunlight and have a high temperature as well. So for our third causes, we have deforestation. Trees and plants prevent sunlight from falling directly on lakes, ponds, or rivers. When deforestation takes place, these water bodies are directly exposed to sunlight, thus absorbing more heat and raising its temperature. Deforestation are also the main cause of the higher concentrations of greenhouse gases. For example, is the global warming in the atmosphere. So just like erosion, itong deforestation, yung mga puno ang nagsisilbing protector at kanlungan ng ilang mga bodies of water, especially ang mga lakes, ponds, mga bukal, para hindi sila directly matamaan ng sunlight. However, once humans could not be stops to deforestation, it eliminates the shades na magiging dahilan ng pagkakaroon ng thermal pollution. So, mai-expose din ang mga ilang water bodies sa sikat ng araw dahilan para uminit ang temperatura nito. So next is we have the runoff from paved surfaces. So urban runoff discharges to surface waters from paved surfaces like roads and the parking lots can make the water warmer. During summer season, the pavements get quite hot, which creates warm runoff that gets into the sewer system and water bodies. So runoff from paved surfaces can also contribute to thermal pollution. So those runoff from roof, from gutters, from streets are considered as warm water, lalo na kapag summer. And also, yung mga runoff pickups such as pet waste, fertilizers, motor oil, detergent, chemicals, and litter, all of this carries pollutants that flows into sewage system and then go directly to the ocean. So ito ang nagiging dahilan para ang temperatura ng posibleng bagsakan ng mga runoff ay magbago at tumaas. So next is the natural causes like volcanoes, geothermal vents, and hot spring under the oceans and seas can also trigger warm lava to rise the temperature of water bodies. So alam natin na hindi lamang sa lupa merong volcano, right? Meron ding volcano underwater. So once na ito ay pumutok, possible din na ito ay maging dahilan sa pag-init ng temperature ng karagatan dahil sa mga lava na binubuga nito underwater. So next is lightning. So lightning can also introduce a massive amount of heat into the oceans. So this means that the overall temperature of the water source will rise, having significant impacts on the environment. So next is the retention ponds. So when we say retention ponds, sila naman yung mga water bodies na masyadong maliliit at makikipot. So dahil dito, naa-absorb nila directly ang energy from the suns. Thus, when the water is pumped directly into a river, lake, or bay, it causes a significant temperatures to increase. So next is the domestic sewage. So yung mga domestic sewage is often discharges into rivers, lakes, canals, or streams without treating the waste. Thus, the temperature of municipal water sewage is normally higher than receiving water. So, isa din sa mga nakaka-contribute ng thermal pollution is the domestic sewage because ang nire-release nito ay warm water. So, tapos na tayo doon sa ating causes of thermal pollution. Now, proceed naman tayo dito sa mga ano ba yung mga posibleng maging epekto ng mga thermal pollution. So, unang-una, it decrease in dissolved oxygen or DO level. So, suffocation can occur for plants and animals. So, it can cause algae to flourish on the surface of the water. This can also decrease the oxygen level in water. So, kapag ang ating ang tubig ay uminit, ibig sabihin na yung oxygen nito ay yung dissolved oxygen nito will be decrease. So next is increase in toxins. So toxins can impact local ecology and make them more prone to various diseases. So yung mga solid waste na nire-release ng mga factories and mga plantations is that it carries a toxins na pwedeng maging dahilan ng pagkamatay ng iba't ibang klase ng mga marine animals. So next is the ecological impact. So small temperature changes can affect some aquatic species. So thermal pollution can cause mass killings of plants, insects, or amphibians. However, some species like algae tends to benefit from the heat. So yung mga algae, mas gusto nila na mainit yung tubig. Samantalang yung mga halaman naman, yung mga insects or amphibians, so posible nila itong ikamatay. So for number 4, thermal pollution could be results into loss of biodiversity. So may cause a certain species of organism to shift their base to some other place, while there could be a significant number of species that may shift in because of the warm waters. Organisms that can adapt easily may have an advantage over organisms that are not used to the warm temperature. So next is the ecological impact. So it Thermal pollution can also result to mass killing of fish, 'di ba? Insects, plants or amphibians. Hotter water may prove favorable for some species, while it could be lethal from other species naman. So small water temperature increases the level of activity, while higher temperature increases the level of activity. So number 6 is affects reproductive system. So a significant halt in the reproductions of marine wildlife. Although this may be true, reproduction can still occur between fish, but the likelihood of the defects of newborn is significantly can happen due to increasing temperature, as reproduction can happen within a certain range of temperature. So excessive temperature can cause the release of immature egg or can prevent the normal development of certain eggs. So for our number 7, it increase metabolic rate. So yung thermal pollution increases the metabolic rate of organism, as increasing enzymes activity occurs that causes organism to consume more food than what is normally required if their environment were not changed. So it disrupts the stability of the food chain and alters the balance of species composition. So for number 8 is thermal pollution can result into migration. So the warm water can also cause particular species of organism to migrate a sustainable environment that would cater to its requirements for survival. So this can result for those species that depends on them for their daily food, as their food chain is interrupted. So once na hindi na healthy yung kanilang tinitirhan na bodies of water, so ang tendency, itong mga marine animals will go to some other water bodies that is very healthy and that is very capable for their living. So for our last effect is the effects to the environment. So as a result, the food chain may be disrupted. So the food chain may also be disrupted by species migrating to environment that can sustain their survival. So that is the effects, the possible effects of the thermal pollutions to both animals, both marine animals and to humans. So, let us now proceed to our solution. So, ano ba yung pwede nating gawin bilang isang tao para maiwasan natin or mapigilan natin itong ating thermal pollution? So, solutions of thermal pollution is required for its detrimental effects on the aquatic ecosystem in the future. A number of methods have been suggested and developed to convert the thermal effluents from power plants into useful heat resources for maximizing the benefits. The solution of thermal discharge into water bodies are as follows. So first is we have the cooling ponds. So cooling ponds or reservoir are the simplest methods of controlling thermal discharges. In cooling ponds, heated effluents on the surface of water maximize the dissipations of heat to the atmosphere and minimize the area and volume of water. So this is the simplest and cheapest method that cools the water to a considerably low temperature. However, the method alone is less desirable as well as inefficient in terms of. So, when we say cooling ponds, it is a human-made ponds which is used for purposes of cooling. So, cooling ponds are utilized most commonly with power plants with which use water for cooling. So, dito sa cooling pond, yung hot water is being pumped through the ponds to cool down. So, the heat is transferred through the water, bringing the temperature down so that water can be used again. So, that is how cooling ponds process. So, this process is also known as a wet cooling. So, next is the cooling towers. So, pag sinabi naman natin na cooling towers, ito naman yung it is designed to control the temperatures of water to make the cooling process more effective. So, cooling towers are mainly used to dissipate the recovered waste heat to eliminate the problems of thermal pollution. So ginagawa ito ng ilang mga manufacturing plants para maiwasan itong ating thermal pollution. So next is the artificial lake. So pag sinabi naman nating artificial lake, man-made water body din siya na kung saan it offers a possible alternatives. So yung mga heated influence may be discharged doon sa lake at one end and the water may be drawn from the other end for cooling purposes. So the heat is eventually dissipated through evaporation. So however, these lakes have to be rejuvenated continuously. So next is the water recycling. So industrially treated water can be recycled for domestic use or industrial heating that the problem of thermal pollution can be reduced. So when we say water recycling, so yung mga ginamit na tubig is pwede pa natin gamitin for our household course, katulad ng pwede natin siyang gamitin sa paghuhugas ng pinggan, sa paglilinis ng mga garahe and etc. So that would be all for this discussion. Again, this is your reporter Benji Echa from BSED Math 2. Thank you.